Hey everybody, I'm Livingston Newton, and this is the Odin Opinion, and today we're going to watch My Science Project. It's a movie I haven't seen in quite a while, so let's get right to it, shall we? You can kind of tell. I think they did a really good job here, but that's a matte painting right there in the upper left part of the screen. Hand painted. Can't beat that.
Doing the effects of ultraviolet rays on plant fungus.
Yeah, she's got like that she's all that kind of vibe where she's very beautiful, but the fact that she has glasses on is the reason why no one likes her. You got Dennis Hopper. I think he's one of the coolest bad guys to be in film. He just has that cool demeanor about him. I'm not sure what it is. And he plays it so well.
So get rid of him.
Hey, Pistol. How you doing, huh?
Michael, I can't keep this mink wheel anymore.
What? Why not, huh?
I like how these 80s movies are like, you have these high schoolers that are clearly like 25 years old. Hey, look, it's the quintessential nerd of 1985. This is Fisher Stevens, which he's been in a lot of movies too. You don't see him too much anymore. I think the last thing I saw him in was The Blacklist with James Spader.
Oh, yeah? What's your old lady say? Come on.
Oh, my parents are divorced. That's how come I'm living out here in the sticks with the old man.
When I was in high school, nobody drove cars like that. It was all like Honda Civics and little Toyota Camrys.
Good.
Harlan,
What?
the name's Ellie, not Sawyer, okay?
Oh, Mike, I'd like you to meet Dolores. She's the sales representative for
Betty Joe.
Betty Joe Cosmetics.
Around this time, they always did a lot of airplane graveyard movies, and like one of them, the other ones was Can't Buy Me Love with Patrick Dempsey. It was made around the same time, but they probably used the same airplane graveyard too. I don't know. I gotta look that one up. Now, do you really think the government would put that beneath an airplane graveyard and forget about it? I don't think so.
Whoa, thanks.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Motorhead Mike broke down, huh? Wait till we spread that around school.
I can't see how breaking down could be like such a bad thing. Like today, it's like, oh, you broke down? What an interesting story. I broke down once in college, and I told everybody about it. Who cares?
Like you, Harlan.
You know, I seen this movie where this haunted car flames guys out. I swear, somebody's got it in for you, Mikey.
Yeah, pisses me off.
Oh. What do you
Wipe.
think it is?
You don't see those anymore. It's usually in Star Wars movies where you see wipes.
Holy smoke.
See that lightning right there? That's all like hand animated. They'd have to go frame by frame to actually animate that lightning coming out and hitting the boombox, which takes a lot of time just for that effect, but I think it still holds up pretty well.
Hey, put that on there. That's good, that's good.
Good job. You're good at hiding things, but not that Klingon axe that was sitting up there.
Stay tuned. We went 2 hours into the future.
You know, if I just went 2 hours forward in time, I'd be freaking out a little bit more about it than what these guys are, because they were just like, whatever about it.
Well, now that sounds like we're dealing with a time-space warp.
That's gotta be made up. I've never heard of that ever in science. Time-space warp. It's gotta be that.
Look, there he is.
Hey, Bob.
Yo, Bob.
Listen about the. You guys cut my science fine.
No.
What's with you guys? Where were you?
It's kind of funny in this movie. Dennis Hopper's like the ex-hippie, and he's always been kind of a hippie in film. But Easy Rider kind of typecasted him a little bit, and he got out of it later on in his career. But for a long time, he was always like that hippie guy.
Sure, I'd like to go out tonight. Could you bring your camera? My camera?
He's using you. Another wipe. On the big screen, they're watching 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. At least I think that's what it is. That's what it looks like to me.
Burn it!
Burn it!
Wow, pretty amazing, huh, Bob?
I don't know if that's exactly how you test metal. If anyone can figure out if that's actually like a test for metal back in 1985, I'd really like to know if anyone could figure that information. But I think that's not exactly how you test metal.
I mean, this is bigger than all of us. I mean, it's...
Yep, I still think the effects hold up. I mean, they might be dated in some aspects, but I think it looks great.
What is it? I'll tell you what it is. It's a time-space warp that's created by this gizmo that will warp something into our dimension, or we can travel through time and space.
How does he know all that information just by light going around his fingers? I don't understand that, but I still like the movie. Why would he go nuts that quick? True value. Product placement. I think this is a very well done scene. The only problem is the science behind it is lacking in that lightning travels at the speed of 671 million miles per hour, while this GTO is not even past 100 up until now. There's no possible way this car can beat lightning in a race. It just doesn't happen. But works for the film and it looks cool. That's all that matters. Honestly, if you only use maybe, I don't know, a couple sticks of dynamite, it'd probably take this entire tower down. Kind of overkill, but again, it's a movie. The dumb thing about that, they were really close to that explosion. Secondly, they were really close to the tower, so there was no telling if that tower was going to fall on the GTO or not. But it looked cool. That was probably a very easy effect to accomplish, was when the city lights were going out. They probably just matted out those city lights in sections, and that was it in post. Back then, it would probably be like taking the frame, each frame individually, and like covering the lights in that area and just blacking it out.
Tonight there's this little business about stolen dynamite. And where's your pal? That ex-yippie science teacher?
The end is near!
I've always wanted to do this!
When they did vortexes back then, they would do it inside of like a fish tank and then put like food dye and whirl it around to make that kind of effect up in the sky that you see right there. Pretty neat how they did things back then. You had to really use your imagination to create certain effects.
Uh-oh, something tells me we ain't in Kansas no more, Toto.
See, the visuals in this movie, I think, are great. They still hold, like 35 years later, this movie still holds up to me, I think. In a lot of ways. There's some things that are still dated, but I still think, for the most part, it holds up. Translation: those who are about to die, salute thee. That's a real translation of that line. They had that same kind of whirling effect in a couple other movies that took place in the 80s. And one of them was Final Countdown with Kirk Douglas, which is another time travel movie that took place in 1941 during the events of Pearl Harbor. But they had that same like vortex kind of thing for time travel. The other one was the Philadelphia Experiment. A lot of vortex back in the 80s. That guy you see in the front there, that's Al Leong. He was in Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They call him the ultimate Asian bad guy, probably because he's been in so many badass movies for the most part.
And you're ready to rock and roll.
Gun safety first.
Who are these guys, huh?
They must be mutants. From after the apocalypse.
How does he know that there's an apocalypse?
This plant has been extinct for 60 million years.
Yeah?
But how would he know that? That's a practical effect. You know, it is a little on the cheesy side, but still, it's fun to watch. I don't care. Funny enough, this movie's only like 8 years before Jurassic Park came out. It's funny how when you look at this movie compared to Jurassic Park and how even today Jurassic Park still holds up There might be some things that are lacking, but the dinosaur in that movie still looks top notch. Not the proper way to hold a gun. Back in the 80s, there was always that thing where you had to hold it at the waist level. But it's like, no, man, hold it at the shoulder. That's how you shoot a gun. There's no way that it would be possible to hold a gun like that without it not flying out of your hands completely. I still think the production design in this movie is just spectacular. You got the T-Rex right here, laying here dead. Clearly, he's still moving and twitching, as if he's slowly dwindling away, or maybe it's just his nerves making him tick. But it's a nice little touch, that they didn't have to do. That's why you see a lot of shots that were like kind of locked down when you saw effects back then, because they couldn't really move the camera too much. If they did, then the effect wouldn't look as good. Like right here, the building is clearly cut off at the line of the building at the top to show the effect up in the sky doing what it's doing with the vortex. But if they move the camera in any way, it would just completely show the effect being false. The finale of this movie, it really wasn't like this big boom of a finale. It wasn't like this massive finale with explosions. It was kind of, just simple. Like they turned the machine off. That's the end of the adventure. What more do you need? Because sometimes that's just what happens. You turn it off and the story's over. And you get the girl at the end. Look at that. The geek and the cool guy end up being best friends in the end. Ain't that something?
We will go Chicago!
Mr. Roberts?
Bob?
Dennis Hopper's role in this movie is probably one of the best examples you can have for showing how you can utilize an actor in a very small role, but have him kind of play an arc throughout the entire movie. Because he was in the very beginning of it. He was also in the middle part of the film before he disappeared, and then he was at the very end. And so you had this big actor in this little movie who kind of appeared throughout the entire thing, but in very little segments. And they probably only had him on set for like 1 or 2 days tops. Filmed his stuff, got him out really quick, and really didn't pay that much to have him in the movie just because he wasn't there for that long. Kind of independent filmmaking 101, even though this was a Touchstone movie, and it was basically backed by Disney, even though it's not on the title of the film.
Heartbreak.
It's just a car. Right?
Look at that. The grease monkey now knows what's more important person you want to be with. And look, they left it open for a sequel. But they never had a sequel for this movie. I would like to see a sequel to this movie. It'd be fun to see some kind of, not really a reimagining, but an actual sequel where it's like 35 years later and you just have another person kind of show up to that airplane graveyard, and all of a sudden, boom, part 2 happens, and they got to go through another time warp in some other facility, or doesn't have to necessarily be a high school, but just something different. I think this isn't utilized too much anymore in these days, where you have like freeze frames of what happened in the movie during the credits. I always thought that was pretty cool in the 80s movies. They did that like in Predator and a few other things too, like Revenge of the Nerds. But anyways, that was my science project. I think it's a classic. I'll probably watch it, I don't know, several dozen more times before I leave this earth. But it's a fun movie. I think anybody who enjoys a good 80s movie that has to do with science fiction, this is right up their alley if you haven't heard of it. But you can probably find it to buy on Amazon DVD or Blu-ray. And I don't think you can find it on streaming, on any streaming services. So that's kind of a bummer, because I think that's where a lot of people watch their movies now. But buy this movie. I mean, it's only probably like, I think $7 or $8. I bought it a few years ago for $7 or $8 on Blu-ray. So check it out. Comment below. Tell me if you actually like this movie, if you've seen it before, or if you actually want to see it because of this video that you just watched. Anyways, next week I'm going to be doing The Never-Ending Story. It's one of my favorite classic 80s films that I loved as a child. I played that movie into the ground. That's what we'll be watching next week. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Till next time, see you later.